Let me take you back to a time when gaming was raw and unfiltered. A time when I was a teenager with limited English skills, yet I stumbled upon a game that left a lasting mark on my soul. Diablo 1. Despite my language barrier, the core concept of the story was so powerful that it transcended words. It was simple, profound, and utterly captivating. Imagine a village called Tristram, with a grand cathedral at its center, a place that should be a sanctuary. But something's off. Spooky things are happening in the village, and especially within that cathedral. Curiosity gets the better of you, and you decide to investigate. As you step inside, you don't just find rats or petty thieves. You encounter creatures from myth and nightmare. Skeletons, zombies, the fallen. The place is cursed, and it's both fantastic and terrifying. The further you go, the more you realize this isn't just about saving a village. It's about confronting the embodiment of evil itself. Then there's the butcher. While not central to the main plot, this menacing presence adds a layer of dread. And the Skeleton King, once King Leoric, who was driven mad and became a monstrous undead ruler, sets the stage for the depth of corruption you are facing. But here's where it gets to the core of the Diablo experience.
The Descent.
You go deeper and deeper into the catacombs beneath the cathedral. This is fundamental. This is the core concept I want to drive home. With each level, the monsters become mightier, more fantastical, more evil. Think about it, a vast evil-infested labyrinth beneath a quaint village. How incredible is that? As you descend through the labyrinth in Diablo 1, the environment undergoes a profound transformation. In the early levels, you find yourself in a relatively normal setting, a cathedral that feels eerie but still grounded in some sense of reality. But with each step deeper, the atmosphere shifts. The darkness becomes more oppressive, the walls give way to twisted rock, and eventually you are navigating through shadowy caverns. By the end, you find yourself in the very depths of hell itself, surrounded by fire, brimstone, and the embodiment of pure evil. In contrast, Diablo 4 presents level 1 dungeons that are already overflowing with blood and corpses, which feels misplaced. These grotesque, extreme visuals should be reserved for the latter stages of the journey, where the horror intensifies as you get closer to the ultimate evil. Starting with such intense imagery from the outset dilutes the experience, leaving little room for escalation and losing the sense of progression into darkness that made the original so compelling. You don't need side quests or artifact hunts to flesh out the content. The mere fact that this labyrinth exists beneath a peaceful village is mind-blowing. Make this the main focus of your story. As you descend, it gets darker and darker. The atmosphere becomes thick with dread. And then, as a teenager, it became clear to me, though I could hardly articulate it, that Diablo, the Lord of Terror, was behind of this. You enter his realm, you enter hell itself. I still get chills thinking about it. Diablo is plaguing this village, and he is the root cause of all the evil you are facing. This is the main plot of Diablo, the core concept. You investigate, you descend, and you discover that you have to confront Diablo himself. Bam, that's it. It's so strong, so direct, and so powerful. Everything else waters down this concept. Side missions, artifact hunts. They dilute the purity of this narrative. Even in Diablo 2, where the gameplay is improved, the story didn't grip me the same way. You're wandering around the world, investigating mostly on the surface. What is this? Indiana Jones? Visiting the jungle and the desert? If I want that, I can watch this movie. Give me a game where the ultimate evil is the root cause of all suffering in the village, and let me slay him. Not some convoluted story where Diablo has brothers just so that we can have a new expansion to fight a new evil. Not a plot where suddenly you are the child of a demon and an angel. As a teenager, I didn't need any of that to understand the stakes. I needed the strongest, most clear path forward. Investigate this cursed village, and the more you know, the clearer it becomes. There is no way around it. You have to confront Diablo himself. Like what? This was unheard of. I can hardly speak it out. I have tears in my eyes when I think of it. The simplicity and directness of Diablo 1's story are what make it so impactful. It's a pure, unadulterated confrontation with evil. Diablo 3 is more of the same dilution. The story until the Skeleton King is fine, but as soon as you leave the cathedral it gets washed out. Diablo 4 had some good ideas, but showing too much of the lore and fleshing out too much has a lot of drawbacks. It strays from the core concept that made the original so powerful. Stay at the core concept of one of the most powerful stories. In fact, when I think of another game that captured this essence, it's Hades. I'm a huge fan of that game. Not only is the gameplay amazing, but the story is very similar. It has a twist. You go from the underworld to the surface, but the core remains the same. The enemies get harder and harder, and in the end you have to face the Lord of the Underworld, Hades himself. The way Hades and Diablo are named is no coincidence. Hades embraces that core concept, a focused journey toward confronting ultimate evil. It doesn't bog you down with unnecessary lore or side quests that detract from the main narrative. Now imagine if Diablo 5 took this approach. You can still keep all the lore created up to Diablo 4. The people living in the new village are unaware of what happened before. There's no know-it-all like Cain in this village. As you investigate, it becomes unmistakable. Diablo himself is there. The very creature everyone hears about in legends, now corrupting their world. Bam! This approach makes the story even more believable and impactful. It grounds the epic lore in a personal, intimate setting, just like the original Diablo. You don't need to know where this village is or tie in into a grander scheme. Just focus on the core story. A cursed village, a descent into darkness, the ultimate confrontation with Diablo himself. Other developers can harness this concept too. You can't license the embodiment of evil or the concept of ultimate darkness. It's a universal theme that resonates deeply with us all. But Diablo already has this foundation. It was there in the first game, and it's time the franchise remembered that. So here's my plea to Blizzard and game developers everywhere. Don't be afraid to start over. Don't be afraid to strip away the excess and return to the core of what made your game great. Embrace simplicity, embrace the power of a focused narrative. Yeah, you had some side missions in Diablo 1 too. I think they were not that great. At the end of the day, what I and many others crave is that raw experience that made us fall in love with gaming in the first place. That feeling of being so immersed that the real world fades away. Diablo 1 gave us that, Hades gave us that, and it's time to bring that feeling back. Thank you for joining me on this journey back to the roots of one of gaming's most iconic franchises. If this resonates with you, if you feel the same fire and passion, please like, share and subscribe. Let's start a conversation about what makes a game story truly impactful. Until next time, stay curious and don't be afraid to face the darkness.